Hey everybody, how's it going? Gonna do some godlike painting today. I haven't touched this thing in a while because I got so incredibly busy with regular work, my day job, so to speak. Got swamped, and but I need to get back to this painting uh, where I left it. I did do a little bit of work since last time, and I'm really happy with the face now. He looks pretty badass and pretty cool. So I'm gonna continue with that. I decided eventually just to paint, really paint it, just go over it with paint. I think that that's the best bet. So I am going to proceed with the rest of this figure. It's a little hard to tell what colors the character is because in this particular manifestation of Atreides, because um, because he uses a lot of color. That's sort of that cool lighting color, and that's kind of a. I'm not. That's not going over it, is it? I might have to unlock that layer here. Okay, I knew there's something wrong. Yeah, there's something wrong. But he uses those, dramatic lightings and warms and cools and stuff that is prominent with these characters. And oh, here's my flats. Yeah, I would like to have my flats. No, I'm turning them off. Wait, where's my flats here? Okay, I got this one and that one. It should be okay to work on. Let me go in there again. Let me zoom in here. Okay, it's going over it. Good. But the flats are way off. That's weird. I think I resized him. That was the problem. Okay, let me just do a quick flat. This is boring, but boring part. Okay, let's see. Put this. I got some people here. Oh, Great Faye. Good morning, Great Faye. Knuckles look awesome. Thank you. That's for Zeta Boris. Awesome one is here. Draw conclusion time. Yeah, probably not. And this is going to take a while. I am painting it, so where's the flats? Oh, here it is. Let me see if I can move this flat over here. Or did I resize it? I might have resized it. Darn it. Let's see. No, it's no good. This thing is useless to me now. Darn it. Which means I kind of have to do a redo of a flat. Which hopefully wouldn't take too long. Or you know what? The heck with it. I don't need a flat. I'm just going to paint right over this baby. I'm just going to go for it. Practice without a net. Going to paint right over my drawing. I think actually I need to do some kind of flat just so I want this to be salad. So let's go put create a layer. And on this layer, I'm going to hit. Now the flats are important because if you don't do them, when you try to go over them with a tone, it won't work. You have to have a solid piece of color artwork so that everything gets affected. It's good to have a base color anyways. I'm just going to use this gray. Yeah, I found out that Jon Malin is ending his Godlike campaign in a week. I'm like, I better get this thing going if I want to make it part of it. I don't understand why he's doing that though. It's. I mean, I understand why he's trying to keep it rare, but it's like I haven't begun to sell this thing. Feels like it really went by fast. Need more time. Okay, now I got a base I can work from better. Gonna hit this baby. I want to make sure I made that nice and solid. 20 gaps. Look how crummy it looks. You think, oh, I think what I might have to do is take the opacity down on this, so I do want to get that flat to be correct. Otherwise, you'll see gaps in the figure. Don't want that. Yeah, Jon Malin does not go in demand, which keeps his comic books rare, but rare also as in, you don't want rare like not selling. So you're gonna have to talk him into that, keeping it in demand. Okay, now we're talking here. Take this and pop it up. Now I got a base. Laying a base. Creative Fair asked me, Dan, do you need assistant to keep track of your layers? A system. I think, yeah, not. I mean, I label these things sometimes, and when it gets complicated, certainly if I'm working on a job professionally, it's like but there's not too many layers here. I kind of know where I'm going. I got my like these things are on separate layers. Got this one's labeled bodies, background. So that's good enough for me to kind of figure that out. So we have things on certain layers here. We got the bodies are all in one layer. Background color. Then we have the bodies in front. And I put that purposely behind it, in front of the character, because his legs are going behind it. And so now we have the guy himself. So like I said, I'm going to paint directly over. This is the drawing here. You have the drawing layer and a layer underneath there, but I'm going to go directly over the drawing. So that this is why this one's going to be painted. I don't want these textures in here anymore. I'm showing just a window here, and that's one of the reasons I don't like this circle wheel. I have to go over, reach over here to kind of get it and bring it over back. It's like usually I'll take this circle wheel, bring it right onto right next to the piece part I'm working on. But if I did that, it wouldn't show in the window because the window only shows on StreamYard. It only shows the one window at a time. And I don't know how to do the screen, share your screen, or maybe I do, but this is just nicer and a little more clean. Okay, so how do I make this guy? I should probably do this part first. Jon makes his designs a little complicated to draw. Like the Godlike in his final manifestation with the red and blue uniform is so difficult to draw. I had to do sketches and have almost notes when I did my initial for the Godlike contest. I had to really work out how that armor works because it crisscrosses and folds over itself. It's really, really peculiar design, but kind of cool. Jon's a creative person. He's not going to have a uncreative or average kind of a design. He'll have a complicated and fascinating design. You can see the Jack Kirby influence definitely in this costume. Jack the King Kirby. Oh, there's Gary. Hey, Gary. Gary Martin, the fantastic inker, folks. Check out Gary Martin's work. He wrote the book, literally, on inking. And tomorrow, we're going to do our usual Wednesday Graybeard Studio and Aaron Lepresti's channel. And we have a special guest, Ethan Van Sciver. So, and I think we're going to try to draw some Cyberfrog stuff. I am ready, I think, to draw Cyberfrog. But it wasn't easy because every time I draw Cyberfrog, I bomb. It's such a difficult character to get right. I remember the first one I did, and I put it online, and Ethan saw it, and he was on the show. He goes, "Yeah, Dan did a Cyberfrog." He said, "It's all right." I'm like, shit. So I can't be that. I can't have anybody saying it's all right when they talk about my work. It's got to be really good. So that's a challenge. But I've been practicing, and I think I've got my Cyberfrog now to a point where it doesn't suck, and it's pretty good. But that's the story of art for me. It's like I didn't just just walk in and start doing it. It was a lot of work to learn how to do it right, and a lot of frustration and a lot of perspiration, and There's a guy. What's the thing in Einstein or Edison said? 99% or 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. Kind of the way it works for me. Unless you're a genius and you just sit down and just start drawing this shit. Like, now, if you're not, if you're just average person, you got to have some, I mean, you have some talents to start with, but you take wherever you're at, you have to work. And that means going to art school is don't think if you're going to go to art school that you're going to come out as a great artist. You only come out if you worked hard in you know in the art school. And when I was in art school and everyone went to lunch, I didn't go to lunch. I went to the library and pulled out illustration books and studied the great illustrators. Because I wasn't there to screw around. I was there to do a job, to get good. I wasn't there for playing games or anything, and still am not. And this is not a game to me, People think it's just, oh, you're just doing it. Isn't that fun? You just sit around drawing comics. No, it is fun, but it's fun in the sense that you have to really discipline yourself and start thinking, how do I get this thing looking right? Even with these belt buckles, I got to make sure that the curvature is correct as it's going across here. Simple things, observations, study, learning. This little bit of like if I put it up here, like this belt, it's not right. See, it has to follow the curvature of the leg, go around it from the leg is coming at you a little bit. That means the circuit, the line's going to go. You're going to have a line like this. That's the curvature of the piece. So that I have to make that belt buckle follow that curvature. And even look at these belt buckles; they're different sizes. It's not good. Got to fix it. Got to make them right. So a lot of this drawing and painting, it's a lot like, you're working in clay. You take off a little piece, you put on a little piece. It's a process. I have my basic shades in there. Now I'm coming in with the little softer stuff. Darken things slowly. I'm not totally sure what color these are, but they're looks like kind of a silver. I went with silver-ish thing here. Okay, see what the chat has to say here. Good morning, Comicsgate, says Asian O Time Outlaw. Oh, Creative Fair, you're going to try drawing Cyberpunk? Good luck. With a bucket of chicken, yeah. That's good, yeah. Fried chicken, yeah. Yeah, a lot goes in Gary's. Yeah, a lot goes into an illustration by Gary Martin. Shit. You guys got to check out his latest image of Godlike. Not God, I mean, Wraith of God. Aaron Lepresti's Wraith of God. It's pretty nuts, as usually as Gary does with his stuff. coming together, looking better. Let me spin it here just to get a better angle. And also, sometimes, especially when you're working on a cylinder, this is great about this Photoshop being able to turn it now. Oh, I used to not be able to do that. And you can, your hand naturally makes, the stroke, the curvature like so. And so it's great to be able to turn it and have a natural hand angle. So much easier. So, hey, Creative Faye, if I can ask you a question, you said you finished a couple interviews. You interviewed me. You interviewed Aaron. Who else have you interviewed on your show? I'm kind of curious now. Yeah, guys, check out Creative Faye's show because she's got some nice interviews. I think we talked for a couple hours about the comics and the business and stuff like that. I really enjoyed those. I say that, Gary will laugh when I say this because it's like you get two comic people together and they'll just talk till until the wee hours of the morning if you let them. And I'm not sure why that is, but it's just so much to talk about. But it's why the internet is so interesting too. Is you're meeting people with the same interest, and it's like, oh, and I think that's part of it. You generally don't get to talk to people much about these things. In the past, comics were kind of and I didn't know anybody who read them or drew them or anything back when I was in the business. Now, I'm talking to people in Australia, or something. Okay, let's spin this back. Now, all you have to do to spin this back, you don't have to like spin it. You don't have to go in here and like do this. All you have to do is double click, hit it doubly, and it pops it right back. All right, let's make these guys. I want to mirror this. I'm going to take that color. By the way, I always do this. When I'm drawing and painting, I have one hand on the Option key on my Mac, so I can have this little eyedropper thing. Take that value, and it's so much easier than trying to go over to the color wheel, trying to figure out your colors. Where you have it right there, ready to go. Now, how do I do the reflection on here? I don't know. No. It's a good question. I wanted to make it shine, but you have to be careful that I want the belt buckles to appear to be flat, like a flat pattern. I'm not sure if it's a real buckle or if it's a flat pattern. Maybe I should look at the reference. Maybe I should pull out the book. I like getting things right. I'm a real stickler to getting things right. It doesn't look like it looks like just a pattern. Yeah, it doesn't look like an actual buckle. In this low light, it's hard to tell. Hang on a sec. Let me grab a little bit better light here. No, that is not a buckle. That is a pattern. Okay, let's turn this off. So that was, see, I could have saved myself some trouble. Okay, looks pretty good. Which means if it's a pattern, then there is no buckle part here. Just part of the body. This is actually a bit of a pain, this costume. I'm tempted to draw these buckles on a different layer just because they, that can be annoying because I'm trying to just do the character's body, and I want to carry it through, but now I got to kind of like do each section, which is rather time consuming and unpleasant. I think it looks okay. Yeah, this thing's kind of a pain. All right, I think what I might just do is, in fact, do this on a different level, a different layer, because it's just annoying. So, creative, you've had Gary Martin and T. Borman, a French cartoonist. Okay. There's a couple series on Webtoons. Okay. Okay, maybe David Williams. David Williams is really overwhelmed and busy right now. As a matter of fact, he's taken a bit of a hiatus on Graybeards for that reason, to try to get himself ahead of the game. Sometimes live streaming, boy, it's I'm amazed at the guys who do it regularly. It's not easy to people like Ethan. You got to do it almost every day. Where did that go? Oh. Gotta remove this clipping mask. Let's take these two and take them off. cut it, paste in place. Paste that in place. Okay, so we're gonna have now I have 3 layers here, and I want to put all of it together. 1 layer. Merge that layer. So now the buckles are their own thing, but I want to actually clean them up a little bit. Because I cut them out in a crappy way, but it's easier to do this afterwards. Oh, Jon Malin, why do you make these things so difficult? This is a pain in the butt costume. See, when you draw these things, the difference between drawing and painting something. It's like it's difficult to. It might be easier in a sense to draw it, but than to paint it, it's can be rather complicated with sharp edges and stuff like that. But you'll see why this is worth this extra step here. Now I'm just going to try to get these edges nice and sharp. It's all freehand drawing, folks. No mechanics here. Okay, one more buckle here. Let's see how it looks now. Okay, now I'm going to bring back this other layer here with the leg, and now I can just work on the leg, which is so much faster and easier now. I'm going to put these two together here. So I could even get rid of the buckles. But trying to do that with just around that flatten that image was just a pain in the butt. Not going to work out. So figuring out the shading on this kind of thing, a little tricky. Kind of like I would call it a leather type finish, maybe a bit not quite patent leather, but something to keep in mind when when you're drawing a character and stuff, and how difficult it is or easy it is to draw that character if you're going to be drawing it a lot on every page. You got to think about how complicated that is. Because if oh, it looks great, and then the character's just like a beast to try to draw. That's one of the reasons I think Ethan had Cyberfrog. It takes a while to do this is stuff because the character is so complicated. It just takes time to draw all those lines. Period. It's extremely time sensitive. Intense. Okay, now I can put the layers over it, and I can actually lock this layer, and now I can use a wide brush. Wait a minute, I didn't lock the layer. Lock that layer. It's a little thing up here. Looks like a square with 5 squares in it, and now that's locked, I can go over and not affect. You can see how much easier this is now, how much cleaner it is. That's part of the caution. So it's easy to make it flow. Seest thou how that works? Looks kind of cool. Yeah, it's different than a buckle. If it was a buckle, then I would think about the. It's still not perfectly clean, but you know what? I'm not going to mess. I'm just going to move on. I'll do this one first. Hey, Marcus is here. Hey, I haven't checked out in a while. Let's see. Grey Wolf says hi. How you doing, Grey Wolf? Thanks for dropping that link. Only 7 days left, apparently. John's campaign. Oh, unless we can convince him to keep it open. Oh, you didn't, Marcus? You didn't think like Godlike 1 was it readable? I think it's very dense read, but I really liked it. So he's what John did was what a lot of experienced illustrator or writers do. They know their world so well, but they forget that you don't, and you have to introduce things a little more slowly. I think because you can easily forget that people don't know all that you know. But still, the writing itself, I thought the language and the linguistics of it were really, really unusually good. But I actually, it deserves a second read because at least in the first reading, you're little, you can get a little lost in those first couple pages. But man, when you go back and look at it again, it's quite extraordinary. This is what I should have done in the first one, like the first leg. But you learn, right? You learn, and you screw up, and that's what drawing is. Oh, that didn't work, Sometimes you just forget, "Oh, yeah, I should have done this," and you didn't think it through very well. So, now I'm doing it the right way, the buckle first. Well, not a buckle, but the pattern first. Buckle pattern. Yeah, I wonder if John actually meant it to be a buckle, but just that's his style. Everything John does, it goes through a stylization process, which isn't necessarily realism. Okay, see what they say. Let me see what the chat's got going here. Some person, how much do you draw and paint a day? I draw every day probably, but like lately I haven't worked on this in a while because I got busy with my other work. But usually doing something every day. Sometimes I try to rest, especially if your hand can kind of get cramped and stuff, and you want to just take a break from that. Um, Exercise and all that kind of stuff is important. Getting out there. So trying to make faces look alike is a pain too, says Grey Wolf. Yeah, yeah. That's why the knowledge of the anatomy of the faces and stuff is so it's memorization. It's it's like learning a language. When you first try to learn a language, it's really difficult and complicated. And then all of a sudden it's not. And it's because you just studied and studied and studied, and eventually it becomes easy. Remarkably, somehow. I think the brain rewires itself or something. I don't know what happens, but something that would be really difficult for me to draw, years ago, all of a sudden it's easy. You got to worry too when you're painting stuff. Like you're zooming in, going, "Gosh, I really got to get these lines just right and get everything perfect and stuff." But you forget that the person's going to be viewing it. Yeah, that's tiny, and so it doesn't have to be that perfect. You got to be careful how close you move in on stuff. Don't want to worry about too much. Okay, I think I'm going to put this on another layers on the same layer as that other one. Now, this is an interesting trick when in Photoshop is if you can make in straight lines and you have it on the sort of non-feathered selection here on your brush, you can just tap it, hold down the shift key, and then tap it again and makes it a perfectly straight line. If you're doing straight lines like this, so that's helpful. I'm gonna use my bracket key. Sometimes that's helpful to use my bracket keys on the keyboard to enlarge when you're filling in spaces. You can do it with the selection brush too, or paintbrush, something. But this is I kind of like to do it by hand. Sometimes it's just by the time I get all those tools going, it's almost like easier just to do it by hand. Actually, I want to go over the edge here just because then I can get these. I want these things to be pointed. So I'm going to go in here, use my eraser tool, and go that way just to get them nice and sharp. Okay, now I can lock everything. All the bands and everything are on this layer, so I can lock this layer. And then I can work on that just with a nice, big soft brush. So I don't have to do anything so detailed. This is why Photoshop is such a superior system. I mean, for painting and stuff. And we used to use the airbrush and to mask all this stuff off. And man, that was so freaking time consuming. Compared to this today, man. Okay, see how I'm kind of like somewhat done with that part of it. Now I'm going to go back to the body, and I will go over now the legs. As JC says, Neil Danlos, appreciate you. Well, I appreciate you, for goodness sake, being here. Thank you. So I have committed myself to doing this entire piece online. That's part of the problem is I'd be in the middle of the night and like, oh, I could do that piece, but I'm like, no, I gotta do it online. Watch everyone can see me screw up. That's good though. That's healthy. You want to when people see that it's not an exact science. You kind of play with it back and forth, making decisions this way and that way. I mean, I guess it's an exact science in a sense, but the process though is not perfectly scientific. So that's pretty cool. Some good musculature going in there. Now these down here, I don't think there's much to them. I'll throw some muscle indication in there, but they might end up just being black. Sometimes you forget when you're doing an illustration is you had to have, the more effective illustration is the one that's just, it's not afraid just to have some black areas and just let it fall out. It may very well be that I will make even these lines in here disappear and just be completely flat one flat black shape. Now you notice here it's kind of silver, like that's fine because I can add now colors. Like I've had these clippy masks. I'm going to put these and this whole thing in one layer, in one group. Group those together. Now I can take these layers and make them both, create a clipping mask. And that means it'll go only over the figure itself. So now I got a yellow in here, and I can go over with it's a multiply layer, so I can multiplies everything together. So I can hit it with a nice little warm yellow like that if I want. Warm it up. It's at 28%. What happens when I make this 100%? Get a little blue now here. Now I use my opacity, bring that back down. See, when I put the layer, the multiply layer over it, almost made those areas black down there, anyways. So I'll play with this color back and forth, lots of different ways. But you can see where it's gotten me. I mean, this figure is essentially done. That was rather boring. that part of it. Let's do something cool. How about this dude? Let me paint that guy. Where is he? He's in a different layer too, I think. What layer is he on? Okay, this layer. Where's the drawing part of him, though? So he's on the same drawing layer as the main character here. Let's see if I can do to get this guy in the right place. Okay, he's in there now. That's pretty good. Sword is way off. Take him out of there. Just want to make sure when I go in the flats here on this guy that he's pretty much flatted in well. I wonder why I'm not getting this. Why is he not working here? Oh, I see, because I have the selection. I got to deselect that, baby. So maybe I should talk a little about Quadrat, because Godlike, because it is an extraordinary story. takes place 10,000 years in the human's future, and a planet called Terminix, I think the name of the planet. And there's gods and aliens, and they're at war with the humans. And it's so the beginning of the story is a battle for the extermination of the human race from these planets. And it's brutal and it's tough. But the forces, it's very, it's like thinking of Jack Kirby, only cool. Like the New Gods. Like, this is like, it's like taking New Gods and going farther than New Gods went. Something more realistic. You believe it. It's a believable world. It's a believable. You believe these gods could exist, and they're horrible and they're good. There's good ones and bad ones. Just like Jack Kirby. If you hear Jack Kirby ever talk about his creations, it's very similar. The artwork, of course, is really something special. Jon Malin's pulled it all out, all the stops out, and now that's interesting too. I think that the way he ties it into our past, human history, the dramatic things that happened in our history, and so I wonder, where is he going to go with that? You could go with a lot. The setup for this story is truly extraordinary and different. There's nothing out there like it. Nothing at all. Let's see what we got here. Marcus, you understand where John was going, but he wasn't entirely successful. Um, yeah, I mean, I understand that reaction, uh, but I think it was a lot of like groundwork that can now come, that he was setting. But I would reread it. I definitely reread it. As a matter of fact, you know what? I was just looking at this the other day because this is the comic here. Godlike, is it backwards? Probably backwards. But the artwork is great, and I thought here's the third page. This scene here where he has these graphics. I need to turn my camera around here so it's not backwards. Okay, and I also have to turn off my blur. Okay. He has these graphics throughout the story. He's talking about extremists, this planet, but it's got that Frank Miller kind of style of writing. It's which I love. It's really, really quite something. So, but let me just read this. This is the third page, and see what you guys think, because I think it's something else. I'm not the best reader, but let me see if I get the light on here. But you kind of get where I'm getting to with here. Let's see, where was this? It says, hang on a second. Bring this light in a little better. The old grudges are dead. I had just returned from exile to my beloved city of Atreides when the Aeon attacked us. Tasked by our king to escort my companion beyond the wastelands to the northern territories, to humanity's most sacred city, to defend the sword and regain my honor. This morning, the red storm began, marking the beginning of the red season. Its haze will help cover us for the last of our journey. Now, beyond the long-dead Colossus of Uruk, we cross the Moor's Passage, a narrow channel of the Deviant Sea that divides the continent of Sagar from north and south. This northern soil, already soaked with the blood and waste of our brothers. The air, devastation, rot. The red season of extremists can be equal parts terror. And you flip the page and it says, and beauty. And then there's a nice shot here of, hang on a second. Of this, that's, sunset in the red sky. And I got to turn off the blur again. That shot there. And that's what happens when you turn the page. And so I thought that was cool. Like, I mean, and the whole book's like that. The whole book is written in a way. It's dense, but it's very dramatic, very powerfully dramatic. So that's what I'm interested in that. But I mean, just the first words on that page where it says, the old grudges are dead. That's just a great way to begin any book. What a great line. So I just returned from exile to my beloved city of Atreides when the Aeon attacked us. I mean, that's so, yeah, Jon nails it. But again, there's a lot to this. There's a lot when he starts getting into, beyond the dead sea of the Colossus of Eric, like we don't know what that is and that sort of thing, but that's okay. So upon the reading of the second time, when you start to learn about these things, you start in these places become familiar to you, kind of like the Silmarillion. It's once you learn the lore, it becomes a really powerful read. This just like a paragraph like this. This morning, the red storm began, marking the beginning of the red season. Its haze will cover us for the last of our journey. That's pretty cool writing. I mean, that's some nice stuff. And one of the reasons I'm excited to be if I can finish this piece, could possibly be on Jon's in Jon's campaign. I'm very proud to be in that campaign because what's the name of the main character? It is Atreides, I think. Atreides was the city, but the it is what is his name? Atreus, yeah. It's Atreus, I thought so. Atreus. And I think that's from Neverending Story. I think he took some of these stuff, which is normal. You when you're creating a book, you take from Greek mythology, you take from the Bible, you take from things you love, and you kind of put it together. Creating a story and like creating a piece of art where you it's like a science experiment. You throwing this, throwing that, throwing that little bit. There's Tchaikovsky's or the what do you call it? The who's that very famous heavy metal artist? Philip Droulet. Yeah, Philip Droulet and against Kirby's Fourth World heavy metal. That's what's in this book. Fascinating book. Anyways, I really liked it. High above the temple of Altrek, heroes assemble. That's just cool stuff. So it's poetically written, it's powerfully written, but it is dense, and you have to have your. It's not really a book for kids because and I don't mean that in terms of things. There's something like wrong with it. It's a book for really somebody for an older person to kind of who really loves literature, really loves language and linguistics because it's just it's cool. It's really cool, but you have to read it slowly and carefully and sort of grasp it. And rereading it is great, which is kind of cool because sometimes you want to reread. You want to reread these books, and when you have language like that, the rereading of it is more enjoyable than the initial reading of it. Which is so. In other words, it's unusual, and books aren't like that generally speaking. That are more enjoyable as they go. Like, the more you read them, the more you like them. That's not your norm. get this opacity back up on this guy. Okay, now we're going to paint the guy with the sword. All right. Go down here. He's on this layer. So I would recommend you getting Godlike and checking that out. But be prepared. You know, it's not light reading. Very unusual book. Okay, I'm getting my basics in here. Lights and darks. This guy will be, I think I'm going to make him pretty dark overall. So now I'm going to, you got the yellows in here. Now I'm going to start sort of when you think about shading on a figure, often use the red to kind of turn where the darks and lights come together, because it makes your skin tones come alive, because it's, skin is translucent, and it helps to keeps it from getting dead. If you shade it with a blue, if I used it you can do some cases some blue. It kind of kills the flesh tones a little bit. Okay, so now that you can see the pencils are above it, so I'm gonna have to go over that. That's just a basic layer. Now I'm gonna go back up here where he's at, and I'm gonna paint on it, directly on it. Let's see how I can make this head look cool and realistic. So I got my eyedropper, taking some colors from the side of it, and I don't have this. I've actually got to pull this layer up here. And combine these two. Merge layers, then I can lock that layer. Okay. I was like, why isn't it not really working from here? So this guy, is getting killed here. Is like don't want to make him. I want to be dirty. He can be like kind of dirty and a little scummy. I can actually let some of that pencil come through a little bit. I want that shine to be realistic. You can see all those colors I put below are kind of coming through now. So I'm thinking, with the shape of the body, how are these highlights hitting it? See, that almost looks kind of complete. I think it's a little too dark on his head. The skin tone looks good. I'm gonna use that. So there's a lot of color variation in skin that you when you're painting, especially skin, you want to keep it exciting, keep it interesting. And see, I pretty much am done. See how fast that was with this upper body? Didn't put too much color down. Now, when I finish this thing and I turn the cameras off and stuff like that, I'm sure I'll go back and revisit these areas and play with it and get a little bit better. But you can see the gist of it is really nearly done. Let happy accidents happen. There's these. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly what the musculature is on these things, like every movement and bend, but you want to just throw in sort of inconsistencies, or I should say, things that are imperfect. Like there's a little bit of a nodule right here. It's like just let that happen. I don't know if that's on the body or not, if that's the correct musculature, but it looks cool. Just kind of let it happen. You can put little cuts too, or something like that. This guy's been in some war. You know, little thing that had been kind of healed. Little imperfections like that. It may catch a bit of light. So you pull back. See, he's got a little bit of a beaten up body. He should have quit while he was ahead. They who lives by the sword shall die by the sword, as the scripture says. So I could really render the heck out of this foot, but I'm thinking about it, mainly being a silhouette. And someone asked me once, how do you know how to put the right stuff on the knee? Like how do you know how to like draw the anatomy of a knee? And I said, you just sort of make it up, put some gnarly stuff on it. That's my artistic answer. Gnarly stuff. Things sticking out, bones sticking out. It doesn't have to be, I say, it doesn't have to always be exact. Just gotta look right. Add a bit of color in here because those veins. Maybe I color those veins a little bit. But then couple that with some color. So I love painting sometimes as compared to comics, to line art comics, because you could just be looser. It feels more natural to me, anyways. Wow, I've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. What do you know? I'm breaking my rule. Shouldn't be. You shouldn't sit longer than 30, 40 minutes. Get up and move. What brush am I using? I'm using just the basic brushes. The soft air brushes. So it depends, of course, on the resolution of your picture too. I'm working on a. Let's see what my size of my canvas is here. Oh, it's kind of weird, and it's a large canvas at 72 resolution, but it's like 62 inches wide. I don't really want that. I'm going to change this around. I want the width to be 10. I want the height to be okay. I'm making it um, the height to be 17 inches, and I want the resolution to be 300. So I'm going to do it. This is going to be a 12 by 17 at 300. Push OK on that. That's good enough resolution for me. 300 is a fine resolution. You don't even need that if it's 12 by 17, 12 by 17. So I have a 12 by 17 image, 300 DPI, and that means now I just use, as far as brushes, let me put the brush palette inside here for a second. You can see what I'm using. I keep it outside because I like to make it long and go across in a flat way. How do I get this guy in here? Come on. There's a document. Okay. So what do I use? Create a new layer here just for this. So here's like an 8. Here's like a 4. They're just the soft air brushes. Well, actually, these are harder brushes. These are the soft ones below it. Okay, that's like a 4. That's like an 8. So, what would I use on something like this? Well, if I'm going to go in here and do some detail here, I would bring in a 4 or something. But I don't really need to go that detailed. But let's say maybe a 9 here, and I want to get some of this cool color. I'm going to make this vein kind of bluish. So that's about the resolution you're looking at there. I want to actually add more gnarly stuff. This is where the tendons are and stuff. You make this kind of it's like, and again, I'm kind of making it up. I mean, I know the basics. There's a basic muscle here, and here, but what about down here? I don't really know how it's all attached, but you kind of know there's tendons coming out of the muscles attaching to the bone. So put them in there. Put some imperfections, put some muscles, put some sinew, and this looks a little light. So I think that's pretty cool. Whoops, I did it in a different layer. Duh. Okay, I'll just combine these layers. I'm gonna get rid of these brushes here. Yeah, the reason I don't have the brushes displayed like this because it's just such a. I like them when I put them on my desktop. I stretch it out, make them really long across because I want to see all the brushes together and not have to scroll around and stuff like that. Well, this is fine actually, probably. I like to see them separate though. I don't know how I can dock. It's always a little weird. Go on in there. See, that's why I don't do that because it covers it up. Okay. Yeah, knees always look kind of weird. They're strange. Like I said, make them. Just think about bone in there and make it look hard and rough and tough. Yeah, these guys are working out. Yeah, they're ripped, or they're just naturally strong guys. Through years of battle and stuff. Yeah, always trying to make it not seem digital. Yeah, it's interesting. And people like say, "Oh, what's your brushes and stuff like that?" And they're surprised I'm just using the standard brushes. But the reason is because when I go in on something, I can let I can just add texture like with these. Okay, you want to get some texture in here. I know that if I'm up close, I'm gonna put another layer on this. Just I don't want to screw it up because I think it's fine as is. But let's say I just got a basic dark brush, but I put a couple lines in here, to mess with the texture, make them a little dirty or something. You can add it by hand, in other words, and just throw in some random scribble, really, almost, And so when you pull back, you see how that gave it texture, that was imperfections to the skin. You can go in with your eraser, then maybe pull a few highlights out of it, something like that. See, now it doesn't look digital. It looks, and I'm letting the drawing kind of come through too with some of this stuff. But I don't really need texture at that point right there. I may add some later. We'll see, as I look at it. Now the interesting thing is, like, I don't want this guy to be the focus, but I have him on a layer. So I will probably get in here and really, I think for the final illustration, he will be darkened quite a bit, which is kind of sad because you're thinking, oh, you're going to lose all this, him, but that's just the way it goes. If I want the focus to be on this guy, then I have to think about losing a lot of that work in detail. But sometimes you put it in there because now I have the option to put it on and to take it off. And let's see a bigger brush here. So I can play with it, take off how much I want. So maybe something like that. Maybe just the edge of him is getting lit like this guy's getting lit. So I'll work with that. But see, when you pull back, you don't want this guy really competing with that guy. You want to knock him back a little bit. So yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks like it's done. It's done, son. Let me flip the image and see how it's looking. This is always a good test. Flip the image horizontally. How's it looking? This elbow looks a little weird. That jumps out at me. I kind of wanted it kind of pointed, but not that pointed. I like him. I think it's a cool face, man. He looks badass. Looking up to the heavens. Like it's a divine experience. In battle for him, it's just like, it's so like incredible. I can tell I need a line right here to define that form. This is the thing is you come back, you go, oh, I need to fix that, This is how obsessive it becomes. Oh, just this little line? Yeah, just that little line. Separate those two things, those two muscles. So now it's there. Okay, so that's good. Okay, how long have I been at this thing? An hour and a half. Let me get this guy's elbow. Just kind of round it out a little better. Not so creepy. Shave a little bit off that. You see how much of a obsessiveness is involved in this. Something doesn't look right, you got to fix it. You go back and fix it. Sometimes too, then I might let this painting sit. I call it like resting. You got to let it sit overnight. Look at it with fresh eyes, because even when you flip it, that's great. But that's just you still need to come away. There's a lot of times I'll draw something and I'm like, that looks great, and I go to bed and I get up next day, that sucks. What was I thinking? Who drew that piece of shit? No. Okay, let's see what the comments are. His heart was in the. I gotta highlight this. It's somewhere else now. Yeah. Stab through the heart, in a literal sense. Duck bacon. Thank you. It looks epic. Yes, looks amazing. Thank you, Mikhail. Mikhail. That's what. Oh, it sound is. You're almost saying it the way the I don't know if is that your an actual name, or is it because Mikhail, who is like God unto God. That's what Michael means. Mikhail. So yes. Then he says, looks amazing. Thank you for that. Appreciate the compliments. I fish for compliments, obviously. I have no shame. Hey, how's it going? How's it look? So yeah, I like these gnarly things I added here. See these imperfections. See that like this is okay. This is a good area. Look at it. There's like an imperfection here. What is that? Oh, it was kind of a happy accident. You look for shapes and you throw in a little bit of stuff, and then when you pull back, that just it looks hard. It looks like it's made out of sinew and bone and muscle. So I don't even think these muscles are really quite drawn right. But I got a bicep here. I got a tricep here. In the middle, uh, there's some muscles. There's a muscle here and a muscle side muscle. And I know it's not like I don't know my anatomy. I do, but I just it's almost like a bit of a starting point. You don't have to be perfect. So I'm gonna add some imperfections here. May take them out, may leave them in. You think of like almost like a horse's anatomy, the way that it's so strong looking. Oh, by the way, this is a good time to talk about my tutorials. I have here on my web or my YouTube channel lots of tutorials. I got I got a good one on perspective. I think it's better than anybody else's, honestly, without meaning to sound egotistical. I think it's better. It's just because I go through 1 and 2 and 3-point perspective, and I show you how that applies in the real world. And I have my own couch I used, and then I went outside, took some pictures, and street scenes, and so I want to show you how it applies, and then how to get a sense of back when I was trying to learn perspective, how you get a sense of a perspective in your picture, so you can feel like you're walking into it. Uh, that needs to be developed just as you learn how to draw, drawing figures and learn how to get the feel for the movement of the figure. Perspective is actually similar. You want to feel that perspective, feel the motion. Use the force, Luke. That kind of thing. And that's important. So check out my perspective video. It's one of those things that it's kind of a boring subject, but it's necessary. It's a good one just to have. So, but then I got a lot of other ones that are really fun, uh, that are less boring, like how to draw the female figure made easy. I actually break it down and show you how to draw them ladies. And you got to do it in comics. You got to draw these beautiful women sometimes, guys. That's the way it goes. So I thought I'd show you my tricks and how I do it because you need a foolproof system when you're doing this stuff. You can't. You got to have a roadmap. How do I get there? And this is a result of just knowledge and study and stuff like that. Like even when I'm doing this sword here, it's like I know how to do a metal sword. I know how to make it look metallic. The I got the lit side. That's going to be kind of bright. Somewhere around here, I want a shadow just to kind of like maybe get a little more shine, like that. Reflective, reflecting the horizon a little bit. And this side, I want this side to be darker, but I want to highlight in there somewhere. Put it down here. Just to help it give it a metallic feel. The things are shining, light's hitting it, different directions. You see, basically now that's it, kind of metal. It's kind of done. See how very little sometimes you're doing when you know what you're doing. Less is more. Let's put a nice shine on this thing. Hot spot. Just give me a white. Little reflection there. See, that's almost done. A little speck of white. And maybe I'll now put a little bit of a secondary shine here. Simple. I want a hard edge here on this. So I'm going to get a smaller brush. Shift. Whoops, I kind of missed. That targeting computer was off. There it goes. So what that does, if I have it on this mode up here, there's two modes. You have the soft brush, this little thing with a circle on it. So let me get another layer here. So here's your soft brush. But what happens when you click that off? You get a harsh cut. It comes out. It doesn't come off. It really delivers the paint more heavily. It's like so. So the good thing about it, when you have it on the one layer here or the one setting here, if I put something here, hold on Shift key, makes a nice line on that. If you have it in the soft add thing, it'll do that, but in a soft way. And so if you want that hard edge, you want that, you have to put it on the proper setting there. Okay. All right, an hour and 45 minutes. It's pretty good. I think that's enough. Maybe I'll come back later. I'll see how things go. But I got pretty far in it. Pretty happy with that. This doesn't look so good right there. See now, this is me. Oh yeah, just a little bit longer. See, I'm obsessive. You got to be obsessive though if you want your stuff to be good. There, that's good. Doing good. Where is this? So I got to put this in. See, that's another thing. I was working on this. I may want to darken that and almost make it a silhouette. So I can go over it now with the layer because the layer it's a clipping mask here in the layers palette. Here's all the art. That means it's going to stay on just this part of the art, so it won't go off. So I'm adding a multiply layer, hit it with like a nice blue, maybe a little bit darker. And now it's more silhouetted, which is kind of what I wanted. I can take it off just in the shine part. Because all the rest of it's kind of in shadow, the shine will reflect. So, okay, that's good. Looking pretty good. And there's things I'll revisit this and check it out again. Let me flip it back to the original. But it's looking cool. I can paint these guys next. It shouldn't be too hard, really. But I can see one thing that I think I made this figure smaller. Now these guys got to be smaller too. I think he may even be made smaller. I don't know. I want him to appear large. That's the thing. So I may have to go in here and kind of take him down, this guy down in size. Um, am I retired? No. Comics legend. I am not retired. I'm very much in fact, I don't really think of myself I'll ever really retire. You can't just, like, stop drawing, like, I wouldn't. But I think I've slowed down a little bit. I'm not as much as the volume I could do before. I am almost 60, and, so I just take it, you gotta take care of yourself. If you're, exercise, you're healthy, keep going, there's no reason to stop. There's no reason, like I can't imagine, like, I would ever retire because I just that's like, stopping living, so because I love drawing and stuff. Oh, yeah, so guys, check out my, other tutorials. There's some good stuff, how to draw the female figure, how to draw faces, male and female, good information in there. I'm gonna do some more, work on facial stuff because facial stuff is so important. Getting that stuff right is so critical to, delivering a really powerful image. The look on this guy's face, I mean, I spent a lot of time on it because it was so important, understanding how to make these eyes look correct, looking up like that. It's not easy. I really spent a lot of time. I screwed it up, went back, fixed it again until I got to the point where I'm happy with it. So, but it takes, it's a lot. There's a lot of knowledge in there, a lot of work. But once you get it, you got it, and but you have to just practice it. But it's fun. So, and no way would I ever retire doing this. I love painting stuff like this. Just it's great. Okay, guys, take it easy, and thank you for being here. And I'll see you next time. Bye.